More Gabos are here.
Spiky bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. Baer from Spiky Bits here today, looking at the big old wave 2 of the Gloomspite Gitz release for the Gabos. Lots and lots of kits this go around. So the majority of the larger kits are coming out this week, and some of the smaller ones too, which is really nice to see. We got the refresh of the rock trolls right here. So you got Rock Gut, Troggoth. That box set of 3 duders is $60, and we're going to talk about that. I really like the design of that. Sneaky Snufflers, these guys are kind of interesting, and of course, you know, like we said last video, they kind of had to refresh the gobbles a little bit, because otherwise there really wasn't a need for us to buy gobbles for gobble players, because there's so many gobbles out there stretching back all the way back to the Island of Blood, where you got a ton of these guys in the box set fighting the dwarf. So they had to come out with some new models. So Sneaky Snufflers here with the little squig hound pig sort of things. Dankhold Troggoth, which also makes the boss Trog as well. And then you got the Goblin Palooza, which is a squad of like hero characters. Mangler Squig coming in plastic for the first time in the history of ever. The Dankhold Troggoth, I think, was this guy 65? Yeah, he's 65. Sneaky Snufflers are $40 US. You got the Loon Boss, as opposed to, I think you could take one on the Squig here, so I think he's only 25 for the little guy. Goblin Palooza is $50 for all these characters, and a Mangler Squig, $80 US. Starting with smallest and ending with almost the largest, we've got the Loon Boss to look at here. Now, open him up. He's just standard 1 sprue component right there, as you can see. Interesting slicing on this guy, left and right halves there of the torso, and then he's got that wicked little kind of curved scythe. Now if we take a look at him in here, sheds a little bit more light on the subject. Like I said, left and right halves right there, pretty easy to put together. And he's got his wicked scythe, his little moon shroud backpack with shrooms, and he's got the little mushroom stand to jump on right there on a 32 mil base, and his like heroic Captain Morgan kind of pose right there. $25 US. Very striking, very cool. I'm not sure exactly how many of these you need in a new Gobbo army, but he's there. The Sneaky Snuffler squad of 6 right here. Not a whole lot of posability as far as alternate models, but you won't make the same one twice. That's definitely for sure. So they've got these loon cap mushrooms that they've been gathering up with their little hounds, their snuffle squigs, kind of leading the way, and then they scoop them into the backpack right there and kind of use them in game. You got your bases, of course, which are 32 mil, so everything's getting a little bit bigger. I remember there was a time these guys were always on 20 mil. I guess they were 20 mil squares, so that would equate to a 25 millimeter round, I suppose. But now everything just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Lots of detail on here, lots of different components for just such a small kit. This actually makes 6 different models, believe it or not. So lots of stuff here. Let's take a look at how they go together. Now, like we saw with the hoppers, there's tons of posability here as far as the heads go. The left and right halves here, just like we saw with the Loon Boss. These guys kind of snap together with completely down the middle, left and right half. So you're going to want to get your Vallejo plastic putty game or your super thin Tamaya cement game on lock, just to make sure you don't have any unsightly seams right there, because there's no other components to kind of cover up or hold the or hide those seam lines. Definitely huge choice of head and huge choice of shrooms that are going to go in there. So you'd actually kind of still have to try to have the same looking one overall, which I think is kind of neat. And then it just kind of goes into more of that right there. When you get to the little hounds, the Snuffler Squigs, so to speak, they're going to go together with their back halves, and then you can kind of choose to front. They're universal, just like we saw with the hopper. So again, you're going to have to really try to have, you know, multiple squads of these that look exactly the same, which is really neat, especially for armies like this that require a large number of models. And there you can see the rules for said Snufflers as well. Continuing up the ladder of size, of girth, and or width of the Gobos, we got the Goblin Palooza. Again, these guys, not so much on the posability. Actually, there's about 0 posability or 0 variance on them. They all make a specific model, I believe, which you can see kind of right here. Get this stuff out of the way. But the sprue is very, it's very large. I mean, most of the components here, they're going to be part like kind of tied to their base or their basing components here. But as you can tell, they are very, very well detailed as far as everything on there. You can see all the individual like little shrooms, the moon and everything right here. Then you've got all the staffs and everything. Kind of reminds me in some ways of a little bit of the Death Guard sculpts that we saw when 8th edition 40k first came out. So here's kind of how they go together. Like I said, everything's sliced and diced here. It's straight up computers all the way as far as that goes. And you just gotta be careful. Dry fit stuff as best you can, and kind of take it slow and make sure that nothing is you know, out of whack or anything like that, because you don't want to glue something down and have it be in the completely wrong spot. To accessorize things, it looks like a lot of the shrooms at the bottom are kind of going to be your best bet as far as that goes. So yeah, you know, something different, but they got some really cool design work. I mean, look at these guys right here. We saw him on the cover. You got Boggle Eye, you got Scaremonger, Shroomancer. I mean, where do they get these names from? It's hilarious stuff right here, but that's what they look like all painted up, and they look super fun. Lots and lots of goblins. Have some goblins and nurglings, man. They have the most fun in the mortal realms. And the new Troggoths are here. So these, now we're starting to get to the stuff that I'm really passionate about. The refresh of the old stone trolls kind of revealed a pleasant surprise where there was a lot more posing here that you can see on the back than the guys on the front. So all of the GW previews and things basically made it look like this was a very static kit, when it turns out that is not the case whatsoever, and there's actually a whole lot of posability. So first off, you get 3 sprues, so there's a lot here. So that kind of, you know, definitely makes you think, oh crap, you can really make these a lot of different ways, and you can actually on 50 mil bases right here. Let's take a look at how these guys go together. So no matter which ones you're gonna make, the feet and the lower torsos all go together the same. And now I noticed on the artwork that it looks like these torsos are kind of interchangeable with the feet. Now I can't really tell. It kind of looks like it on here, but without putting them together, and this isn't the kit that we may or may not get a chance to put together today for you all, but just keep that in mind right there, that it looked like there was a little bit of variance in the torso and feet combos on the box themselves. Then it comes to, and these instructions are a little vague, there's no words in here to kind of tell you, it's just like all symbols, right? So there is, at least from my count, here are 3 different tops that you can make. There's 4 different left arm components, 4 different right arm components that all can glue together here. And then you've got these specific ones where they're holding the stone, holding the staff, and that's it. So you've got quite a bit of variance. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however you want to do it. And there's actually 6, because you can put what, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each one of these is 4. I don't know why they show 3 right there, but there's 4 different ones. So there's 4 different left and right halves. So there's 6 different tops. You get 3 sets of legs, and necks, you can assemble these necks together, and then they have a little talisman or ward, whatever you want to call it, right there. So there's only 3 different necks, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different heads. So a lot of cool ways to do this, but keep in mind too, some of these heads are going to be turned. Some of the necks, you're going to want to use this one so that it's turned to the left, as opposed to these ones that look straight. But it looks like, judging by the openings here, that they all are interchangeable. So just double check your posing again before you glue anything down, and it should be good to go. If you can find a way to score extra sets of legs, you could have literally another whole squad of duders here, minus the necks. That's the other delineating factor. So it is what it is, but it's a lot of posability here. Like I was saying, when you open this up and you look at all these sprues, And they're done up pretty nice. Like there you go. There's lots of little fur and all sorts of different weapon detail. Look at the little rope detail. So lots and lots of very cool looking detail work here. There's all their little necklaces, their wards, or whatever you want to call them, talismans, tokens. I'm sure there's a better word I'm reaching for that I can't remember. And this is ginormous. It's about 3 inches wide right there. So these guys are, their girth and width is definitely very mighty. Boss Trog is coming in hot. This guy is my new favorite little Trog. I played Destruction, I played Gobos in the past, and he's my new favorite. Now, I'm trying to be open-minded about it, because when you look at this bag, when you look at Boss Trog proper on the back here, this is a hot mess of stuff going on right here. What is all these things? There's stuff everywhere. Like, I don't want to paint that. Like, come on, GW. Like, not only that, but it's like hard. It's actually kind of hard to see what's where. Like, is this his face? You have to like literally like really concentrate to figure out that that's his face right there. No, don't get me wrong. Like, trolls shouldn't look, attractive or whatever. But man, it's just super busy. And what is this thing? I don't even know. Like, is this in Sigmar? Like, why do we have this? It was really hard for me to wrap my brain around everything that was going on with that picture. But then when you start looking at the model, you're like, oh, okay. All right, yeah, I see the design here. Okay, cool. All right. So it's going to come on a little bit bigger of a base, 60 mil. I think originally we thought that the Trogs were on a 60 mil and this guy was on an 80 mil, because he looked a lot bigger. But you know how perspective is when you see stuff in a case at like an event at GW. It's just really hard to tell. So here's the instructions. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of posability here with this guy. I mean, you could, in theory, kind of assemble him with this arm. So this arm's universal. This arm hangs down. But then you've got a choice of arms right here. But if you want to hold this, then you can't hold this, and you have to hold this. And so you really, unless you are doing a conversion and you figure out a way to maybe swap this around or something, I suppose you could do that. So whichever variant you're going to do, you're going to assemble these computer slices right here and get it together and get it to this point where you're going to put the chest on here. Then, depending on which one you want to do, you put on this chest for just the Dankhold Troggoth, and then you can kind of go from there. Like I said, this arm is exclusive to him. He's got a head right here that you're going to put together depending on which ears you want. You have a little bit of option there. You can put the cannon around his neck, kind of like, I don't know, some sort of crazy talisman bling, so to speak. The hammer itself is kind of posed into the hand, so it would be a little bit hard to convert, but not super hard. Then you can go straight like rock hammer. If you want to do like stalactite or ice hammer right here, you could definitely go that route. So a little bit of customization. I personally don't like the fact that you're kind of pigeonholed into having all these little mushrooms and stuff on his back. I would have preferred that to have not been there. Speaking of which, when you switch to the Trog boss, he's going to have all those growths on his back too. They're a little bit more pronounced. And then you put on the center section here, this arm goes up in the air. He has a different necklace, and he has to hold this little centipede thing. You can switch out the ears a little bit, but that's pretty much it. Like, not a lot of posability here. I like the design. I think he's very cool, but me personally, I would have liked to have the option for this. And I don't know what this is. And me personally, I wouldn't put this spider on. I think it's just, there's just too much busyness here. And maybe it's just an unfortunate picture, because when you look at it back here unpainted, it makes a little bit more sense, right? You can definitely see the depth in things. But when you look at the picture, it's just painted in all those different colors. But it is busy in general. So I would have liked to see a little bit more posability for this guy. But here you can definitely check out the sprues themselves. Now, there's the option of one of the hammer ends right there. I guess the other halves are on the other sprue. And all the barnacles and the little shrooms and stuff all the detail is great. You can tell that's some sort of like, ancient granite or stalactite. The face actually looks just completely ridiculous right there. I mean, completely well done, highly detailed. Here's the front or the back, so he's a little bit of kind of a crazy hunchback sort of thing. But like I said, it's just all this busy work here. I mean, it is what makes Age of Sigmar Age of Sigmar. I would have liked it as an option, me personally, but that's just me. And don't let me discourage you. I think it's a very cool looking model, and I probably would just assemble mine that way and be able to run him as either, because I mean, basically they're literally equipped with one just has a command ability over the other one, which does not. And last but certainly not least, the return of the Mangler Squig. So this is an $80 US kit coming out this week that makes either the Mangler Squigs or the Loon Boss, which was the little guy I showed you first, on Mangler Squig as well. Now I'll be real with you. When you open up this box, kind of have a feel badsies, because you're like, wait a minute, $80 US, I get this one sprue, I get this, I guess this is an 80 mil round base. I can't even imagine if this is 80 mil. I guess it's 80 mil. 80 mil round base, manual, $80. Like, I can see where people are gonna have a tough time with that, like price point wise. I believe this guy, when he was fine cast, I believe he was $60 US. And what we used to, I actually used to be a Goblin player myself. Ran Wolf Riders back in the day. What we used to do was we would buy him and we would cut him in half, and we would put one on each base, and that way we would have two. But nowadays you can still do that, actually, judging by what it looks like here, because you have the Loon Boss. So if you just don't attach the top squig, get another 80 mil base right here, which I'm not sure it's 80 mils. We should actually find that out. And then you can have two. You could have the Loon Boss, or you could have two Mangler Squigs if you really want. It actually doesn't say what size base it is. I'm going to investigate. Right me here. And it looks like it is an 80 mil round base right there. Okay, well, it is 80 mil round. That's okay. Good to know. So that being said, let's look real quick, because I know we've gone pretty long on time. So all of these go together, whichever one you're going to do. The squig is pretty self-explanatory, but then you kind of have a choice here of what front you're going to put on him again, and then you make the second squig, and then he goes depending on what you want to put on the front of him as well. Now, the Mangler Squig and the Loon Boss are actually different configurations for being attached. But where they attach, it's this very small little post on these gobos. There you can see it on that one, and on the Loon Boss, there's like a little pole or post as well that is semi-precarious in nature. There it is right there. He's kind of like holding up a post. But the genius of the design is that the chains themselves lend support. So you kind of put a two-part chain together, and then it itself locks up to help support the overlap weight right there. But like I said, you don't even have to cut this guy off now. Just don't assemble it together. You can put it on a separate base. You don't have to lock these chains together. So now you can have this chain where it would normally go together just kind of flying off. You may have to base him with some cork or something like that. You can actually, a trick I learned recently is you can get some cork for lizard aquariums at your pet store. This is actually cork. It's not real wood. This is literally cork board, just like you would find at a bulletin board, but it's been pressed and shaped and matted to actually resemble a piece of wood for your pets, right? So just put them on that or something like that. And it's some neat little tricks you can do there to get a little bit more bang for your buck. So again, you can make two different Manglers, and the difference between the Mangler and the Loon Boss is it actually the rider and the way it attaches. Like this one leans to the right, and with one set of chains, and the Loon Boss is going to lean to the right with another set of chains that's in here. It's kind of hard to see, but he's actually leaning to the right there. So, and of course, he's got the Loon Boss himself and a different bottom pilot. So let's look at the sprues real quick and get on out of here. Well, the sprue, I guess. So there they are, the Manglers, the main Manglers. You got the two sets of chains right there, and then all the little duders and hanging on for dear life, the different fronts. the snout mounts and the armor plating, depending on which one you want to go with. And then just to show you how small that little post actually is that he's holding on to, I forget where it is, but there it is. So there's one of the posts. So your Mangler is actually going to lock, it's supposed to lock onto the top of that post right there with his 1 foot, and then the chains actually support him. And that's the one guy, and the other one I can't really see right off the bat, but he was also equally as, I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously it works because they wouldn't put this out if it didn't, but it was definitely a little bit smaller. So the assembly itself will give it strength, but like I said, why not have 2 for $80? So that's about it for this one, folks. I know we went a little over on time, but it is what it is when you're looking at so many great kits that are really exciting to see, not only from the design aspect, but also, you know, some of the stuff we used to do back in the day. So thank you very much for watching, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.
Spiking bits.